I remember the exact moment I realized everything had changed. It was late at night, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, like the world is holding its breath. I was sitting on the edge of our apartment couch, staring at the dim glow of my phone, when I saw her name flash across the screen one last time. She didn't call. She didn't text. She left. And just like that, the person I thought I'd spend forever with vanished from my life without warning. Her name was Emily. She had this way of lighting up a room without even trying. And I was just happy standing in the shadows, thinking I was enough for her. But that night, as I sat there, I realized maybe I never was. The apartment felt colder, emptier, and every corner seemed to echo with all the little moments we'd shared. The laughter, the late-night talks, the quiet mornings drinking coffee in our mismatched mugs. It all felt like a life I no longer belonged to. I wasn't alone for long. A soft knock at the door pulled me out of the spiral of my thoughts. It was faint, almost hesitant, like whoever was outside wasn't sure if they should be there. I opened it, and there she was, her sister, Sophie. I barely recognized her in the low light, but her eyes were unmistakable, warm, tired, and full of a weight I couldn't yet understand. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, like she knew I needed her there more than she needed to be polite. "You deserve better," she whispered. Just like that, my world tilted even further. I didn't understand what she meant. Was she talking about me? Or was she talking about her sister, about the girl who had just walked out of my life? Her words hit harder than I expected, slicing through the numb fog that had settled over me. I wanted to ask her what she meant, why she was here, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I just nodded, pretending I understood, while inside, a storm was brewing. There was something in Sophie's eyes that told me she knew things I didn't know, things Emily hadn't told me, and maybe things I wasn't ready to hear. I could feel it, a tension building that I couldn't ignore. And yet, in that moment, the one thing I wanted most was some kind of explanation. But Sophie didn't give me answers. She just left the words hanging in the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. "You deserve better." I didn't know it then, but that night wasn't just the end of us. It was the beginning of a story I could never have imagined. And as I stood there, staring at the door long after she'd left, I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth about Emily, and about what had really driven her away, was about to hit me like a wave I wasn't prepared for. And I had no idea how much my life was about to change. Before that night, Emily and I had a life that looked perfect from the outside. We laughed at the same silly jokes, argued over the silliest things, and somehow always found our way back to each other. I thought I knew her, the way her eyes lit up when she was excited, the soft sighs she let out when she was tired, but now I'm not so sure. Sometimes, even the people closest to us carry storms we can't see. Emily's sister, Sophie, had always been quieter, more reserved, but there was this intensity about her, like she saw things others didn't. She and Emily weren't exactly the same. They clashed more than they got along. But there was an unspoken bond too, the kind that only siblings share. I'd spent time around Sophie, of course, but mostly in casual ways. She was polite, sharp, and never overshared. That night, standing in my apartment and whispering those words, she felt like a key to a door I didn't even know existed. Our relationship with Emily had been intense, full of passion and laughter, yes, but also undercurrents I hadn't recognized until it was too late. She was the kind of person who felt everything deeply, which made our connection electric, but it also meant she carried shadows I couldn't touch. I ignored them, or maybe I didn't want to see them, because I loved her, and I thought love was enough. Leading up to that night, things had started to shift in small ways. She would go quiet when I asked her about work, or brush off questions about her friends. There were nights when she stared at her phone longer than necessary, and when I asked, she'd smile and change the subject. I convinced myself I wasn't worried, telling myself everyone needed space sometimes. But now, with her gone and Sophie's words echoing in my ears, I realized maybe those little things had been warnings. I remember the last week before she left. She seemed distant, but she laughed, she smiled, she acted like everything was normal. And I, caught up in my own world, believed it. I believed we were fine. I believed she'd always be there. But that wasn't the truth. Something had been building underneath, something I didn't see coming until it exploded all at once. And now, Sophie's visit that night made me wonder, had I missed the signs? Was there something I could have done? Or had it been out of my hands from the start? Her words, simple but loaded, hinted at a story I hadn't been part of, a secret that maybe Emily had been keeping from me. And if that secret existed, if it was real, what else was waiting for me just beyond the surface of what I thought I knew? I wanted answers, but I wasn't sure I was ready for them. And even as I tried to replay every moment, every word, every glance, I realized that some truths weren't meant to be discovered easily. Some things had to be uncovered slowly, painfully, and sometimes at a cost. And I had a sinking feeling that the cost of knowing the full story was about to become far higher than I ever imagined. The next morning, the apartment felt heavier than ever. Emily's side of the bed was cold, her favorite mug still on the counter, half full of coffee she'd never finished. Every small thing screamed that she had been here. And then, just like that, she hadn't. I tried calling her, texting her, even leaving a voice message that I knew she'd never hear. Nothing. Then came Sophie again. This time, she didn't knock. She let herself in, like she had a right I couldn't question. Her face was pale, her eyes sharper than ever. "We need to talk," she said, and I felt my chest tighten. About Emily. I wanted to ask her why, to beg for answers, but the words froze in my throat. Sophie's presence carried a weight I couldn't place. She paced the living room, her hands clasped tightly, and I realized she was holding back. Something dangerous, maybe even devastating. She didn't just leave because she wanted to. Sophie finally said, her voice low. "There are things you don't know. Things she's been trying to protect you from." I blinked, trying to process her words. Protect me? From what? The confusion and fear started to build inside me like a storm ready to break. Protect me from what? I asked, my voice trembling, though I tried to keep it steady. Sophie hesitated, then shook her head. "I can't, not yet. But you need to understand, there's more going on than you realize. And you have to be careful, because once you start asking questions, you won't be able to stop." Her words felt like ice in my veins. Questions I hadn't even thought of began racing through my mind. What could be so bad that Emily had to vanish completely? And why involve me at all? My gut twisted as I realized that everything I thought I knew about her, about us, might have been a lie, or at least only a part of the truth. I wanted to push her, demand answers, but something in Sophie's eyes told me that pressing too hard could make things worse. That whatever was coming, whatever Emily had run from, it wasn't just her problem anymore. And then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. No words, just a single image. I froze, my stomach dropping. It was a photo of Emily, but she wasn't smiling. She looked terrified. And at that moment, I realized that whatever she had left behind, whatever secret Sophie was hiding, it was far from over. That photo haunted me all day. Emily's eyes, they weren't just scared, they were pleading. And yet, there was no clue where she was, no explanation, nothing. Every corner of my apartment felt like it was closing in on me. Every sound amplified, every shadow suspicious. My phone buzzed again. Another image. Another angle. She was somewhere unfamiliar, dim light casting long shadows across her face. And in the background, something moved. Something that shouldn't have been there. I couldn't ignore it. I had to find her. I had to know she was safe. I called Sophie immediately, but she didn't answer. Panic clawed at my chest. When she finally did, her voice was tight, urgent. "I warned you. Don't do this alone. You don't understand. Whatever she's caught up in isn't safe. Not for you. Not for anyone." "Then tell me," I shouted, the frustration and fear spilling over. "Tell me what's going on. I can't just sit here." There was silence on the other end, thick and heavy, before Sophie finally spoke. "It's not just about Emily leaving. It's bigger, dangerous, and you being involved now. I don't know if I can protect you." The weight of her words made my head spin. Danger? Emily? My mind raced. What kind of danger could make her vanish like this? And why hadn't she told me? Why hadn't she trusted me? I felt rage, confusion, heartbreak, all at once. But more than anything, I felt powerless. I spent the next few hours retracing every memory, every detail, looking for a clue I'd missed. Her laughter, her texts, her offhand comments. They all seemed innocent then, but now, under the shadow of Sophie's warning, they were hints I had ignored. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had been blind to it all along. By evening, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. If Emily needed me, If she was in danger, I had to act. I grabbed my jacket, my keys, and headed out, following a trail I didn't fully understand. The city felt different at night, stranger, darker. Every flickering streetlight, every distant shout, made my pulse quicken. I arrived at the location hinted at in the last photo, an old, abandoned building at the edge of town. The windows were shattered, the door hanging on rusted hinges. My heart pounded as I stepped inside, each creak of the floorboards echoing like a warning. Shadows danced across the walls, and a chill ran down my spine. I called Emily's name, but only silence answered me. Then, just as I was about to turn back, a whisper carried through the darkness. My blood ran cold. It wasn't the wind. It was soft, deliberate. You shouldn't be here. And somewhere beyond that whisper, I caught the faintest movement. Something, or someone, was watching. I froze, my mind racing, my breath shallow, and I realized the truth about Emily, about why she left, about what Sophie was trying to protect me from, was closer than I ever imagined. And I was about to uncover it. I stepped forward, heart pounding, the shadows thick around me. Then, from the corner of the room, a figure emerged. My first thought, Emily. Relief surged through me, until the light caught her face. It wasn't her. It was Sophie. Why are you here? I stammered, frozen. Her eyes weren't the familiar, worried eyes I'd known. They were sharp, almost cold, and there was a tension in her posture that made my stomach drop. I told you not to get involved, she said softly, almost too casually, but her tone carried a warning I couldn't ignore. You don't know what you're stepping into. Emily, she's not who you think she is. My mind spun. Not who I think she is. What did that mean? Had I been in love with a stranger this whole time? And then Sophie's hand tightened around something I couldn't see in the dark. Before I could react, she moved quickly, and a small envelope landed at my feet. I bent to pick it up, hands trembling. Inside, photographs. Photos of Emily meeting strangers in the dead of night, exchanging envelopes, doing things I didn't understand. And then a message at the bottom, written in Emily's handwriting. If you love me, stay away. They're coming for you next. A chill ran down my spine. I wasn't just trying to save her anymore. I was in danger too. The envelope shook in my hands as if it carried its own heartbeat. My mind raced, piecing together fragments of everything Sophie had said, everything I'd seen, everything I thought I knew about Emily. She hadn't just left me. She had vanished for a reason, and now it was clear that her world was far darker than I'd ever imagined. Suddenly, a noise behind me made me spin. Sophie stood there, tense, her hand now gripping a small device that hummed with a faint light. I'm trying to protect you, she said. Her voice trembled, but there was steel underneath it. They're watching everything. If you step out of line, if you try to contact her, you'll disappear too. Fear slammed into me, but it was mixed with determination. I couldn't let Emily face this alone. Then tell me where she is. I demanded, my voice raw. I don't care what danger there is. I'm not letting her do this alone. Sophie hesitated, her gaze flicking toward the shattered windows, the shadows creeping like fingers across the floor. It's in the old harbor warehouse. But you're not ready for what you'll find. I didn't care. I ran. The city streets blurred past me, each step fueled by desperation, by love, by anger. When I arrived, the warehouse loomed like a beast in the night. Inside, the smell of salt and rust was thick, the darkness almost suffocating. And there, tied to a chair, was Emily. Her hair was messy, her face pale, but her eyes locked onto mine, and I knew we weren't out of this yet. Before I could reach her, a shadow moved. A group of men, faces hidden, weapons glinting in the dim light, blocked my way. My heart pounded. I realized then that this wasn't just about Emily leaving or a secret anymore. It was about survival. And just as one of them lunged, Sophie appeared from behind a crate, holding a flare that lit the room in sudden, blinding fire. Run, she shouted. We fought, dodged, and scrambled, adrenaline coursing through every vein. Finally, we reached the exit. Emily and I stumbled into the night, gasping, shaking, alive, but free, for now. Then Sophie's voice cut through the chaos, calm but icy. You think this ends tonight? You have no idea who's really behind all of this. My stomach sank. Even in our escape, the real threat was only beginning. The city felt quieter after that night, though the silence was deceptive. Emily and I sat on a bench near the river, wrapped in blankets, our hands intertwined, hearts still racing from the chaos we'd escaped. The danger hadn't vanished entirely, but the immediate threat was behind us, and for the first time in days, I could breathe again. Emily's eyes were red from tears and fear, but when she looked at me, there was something stronger than fear there. Relief, trust, a fragile kind of hope. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice barely audible. "I should have told you everything. I didn't mean to scare you. I only wanted to protect you." I shook my head, squeezing her hand. "No, don't apologize. You were trying to keep me safe. That matters more than anything else." Slowly, she began to explain the photographs, the meetings, the secrets she'd been guarding. Emily wasn't involved in anything criminal. She had stumbled upon a network that threatened people she cared about. Leaving was the only way to keep me out of it. The more she spoke, the more pieces fell into place. Her disappearance, Sophie's warnings, even the danger at the warehouse. It all had been about survival, about love, and about protecting those who mattered most. And Sophie, I realized how much she had sacrificed too. Her stern warnings, her secrets, even her sharp words, they weren't to hurt me, but to guide me, to keep me alive long enough to understand the bigger picture. Without her, Emily and I might not have made it out that night. As the first light of morning brushed over the river, Emily leaned her head on my shoulder. "I don't want to run anymore," she said softly. "Not from love, not from life. I want us to face things together, no matter how scary they are." I held her tighter, feeling the weight of the past week lift just enough for us to hope again. The terror, the confusion, the heartbreak, it was all part of a story that had tested us, reshaped us, and reminded us that the people we love are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. But even in that quiet moment, a shiver ran down my spine. The final note Sophie had left me in the envelope, small, almost unreadable, lingered in my mind. "Watch the shadows. Not everything ends when it seems safe." I looked at Emily, smiled softly, and kissed her forehead. "We'll face it," I said, and I meant it. Whatever lay ahead, we'd face it together. Yet, as we walked away from the river, hand in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was still watching. And deep down, I knew that some stories never truly end. They just wait for the next chapter. And in that quiet, lingering unease, I realized one truth. Love can survive fear, chaos, and secrets, but only if you're brave enough to face the shadows together.